We are live here on Star Wars Newsnet Live. I forgot to put the thumbnail up for the start. Oh my goodness, there it is. Yay, we did it.
Whoa!
Congratulations. Nothing to see here, everyone. Oh, I got too excited. I got too excited because tonight I have 5 juicy, spicy, hot takes, I think, to share with you. And we're going to play a game. You're going to tell me, how spicy you think, how difficult this take might be, how hot is it, how likely is it to happen or not likely. And we're going to see where we are. But I have a special game to play with that later, okay? Because we have had, and since this last Thursday, a massive week in Star Wars. We have new trailers that have popped up for the Mando and Grogu, which I don't think any of us expected a teaser trailer for right away. We have a Andor Season 2 trailer that popped up behind a wonderful paywall. We have a Skeleton Crew trailer that we got to watch. There were the Rebuild the Galaxy Lego news that came out. I mean, there was so much that came out, but there was also things that weren't talked about that I think, the silence on them was almost, just as loud as the actual announcements for things. So we're going to talk about all of it. I want to know just real quickly what in the chat, what are we most excited for? It seems like Oscar is most excited for Andor, but Jay, of the things specifically talked about at D23, which one are you most excited for, and why is it Lego Rebuild the Galaxy?
Well, hello everyone. Yeah, it's good to be here. Star Wars News that. No, Star Wars Lego Rebuild the Galaxy. That's definitely nothing to sleep on. That looked a lot of fun. Got Mark Hamill voicing a Lego character, which is always great. But if I had to pick one of the Star Wars news and Star Wars trailers that was showcased at D23, I'd have to go with the Mando and Grogu stuff.
Okay. Was that because just the fact that we're getting a movie again, just seeing something that's going to be a cinematic experience is just really exciting?
There's that, but also what they showed off was looking really great. If you guys haven't checked it out, of course, Disney hasn't officially made it available. The footage on for those who weren't in attendance, but you guys can check out our coverage on Star Wars News. Check that out on our website. But they did show off some pretty cool looking stuff, including, Mando and Grogu.
Oh, if you want the trailer and you don't have it, you can't find it somewhere to download, hey, you can contact me on Twitter at TypeRap5. I will hook you up. I will spread. This is the spark that will light the fire that will bring the Disney paywalls down. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make this happen all together. Thanks for tuning in live on YouTube. For those of you who are joining us, we're talking about what are we most excited for from D23, and then I'm going to get into the 5 spicy takes. I have 5 spicy takes that we're going to deliver. Luke, we've already talked about D23 quite a bit, but am I correct in saying that since we talked on Sunday night about D23, that the Mando and Grogu stuff is still your number one? This hypes me up the most.
It's definitely up there. The more I sit with it, I think I'm really getting excited for Andor Season 2. It's I really enjoyed Season 1. I liked what I saw for a preview of Season 2, again behind a paywall, but it's got me pretty hyped. I really love this show. I love these characters, so I'm really jacked to see what goes on in Season 2.
Jacked. We're jacked up right now. They actually there was an old Monday Night Football segment where they used to say he got jacked up, and they would show the 5 biggest hits of the week in football. Nowadays, if someone were to hit someone like that, it's like a suspension because they're headhunting people with their helmets nowadays. I would say Mando Grogu just because of Star Wars movies and the idea of being back in a theater for Star Wars in 2 years. Other than a Disney Plus premiere, which has happened a few times, I absolutely can't wait. It's going to be an unbelievable joy just the build up to that, even if it's a soft launch of Star Wars films, essentially with a show from streaming into, the cinematic experience. However, we're going to talk about that coming up. I have plenty for us, plenty in store tonight, okay? But we have three fun things to talk about from Star Wars this week that, is not necessarily completely trailer oriented, like we're going to get into some of these takes in a moment. First off, Daisy Ridley won the Hollywood Rising Star from Dalvo Film Festival, which she's going to be attending, I believe, is later this year, which Daisy's done a number of independent films or other smaller films. She has like her most recent one was like the Disney Plus film The Young Woman in the Sea that just got released, and I have to say that it just warmed my heart to see her win this award. And let's not take this lightly. People like Ryan Gosling, Jessica Chastain have won this award in the past. Emilia Clarke won this award, I believe, last year maybe, or it was like a few years ago. So Luke, Jay, like one of you, please just enlighten me. Enlighten me on what I'm missing here. Like, how great is this? Because I think it's great, but tell me how great this is, even beyond my wildest, happiest moments that I'm experiencing.
I can jump in here. I think that you are right to be super excited about this. As our poster girl Rey is someone who's coming back to the franchise, and here she is in between movies from The Rise of Skywalker to New Jedi Order. She's still killing it, and she's still doing award worthy projects. She's putting in award worthy performances. And I know we talked about this last week. I just think the world of her. I think she's a wonderful person, and I'm so glad to see her get recognized for her hard work. So I'm also really happy to hear that there's this other list of like really popular names that have won this award. Like she's up in that tier. It's just more credence to her name of like being more important. So I'm really happy that she got this.
So, Oscar, we are led to believe that some of that footage is like from their primary filming. They've been filming for a few weeks now, so they've been very busy doing this. So clearly, because I think there's rumors that Pedro himself was on like set for a little bit. I need to dig into that, but there's rumors that he was actually there and a part of what they were doing, which led people to believe that there have been scenes with Mando's helmet off with Pedro in this movie. Of course, that's all speculation. But they've been going at it pretty hard for a while, which is why I was surprised we didn't get more of the cast announced at this point. But we're 2 years out. They're probably going to save it for some massive panel at Star Wars Celebration next April, I would assume. But we can definitely watch the latter half of that teaser trailer and say, okay, these are some things that we can expect, to possibly happen. I think we'll talk about it more. There's some pressure there, I think, to get some of that out. But Jay, Daisy has the Rey stuff coming up, and there was obviously everything surrounding her health that's been that she's talked about recently. Is it touching to at least look and see that she's getting acknowledged for like the work that she has done, and the promise that she can hopefully continue to churn out some more projects to match this what she's already done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I mean it's great to see that she's still getting a lot of great buzz and a lot of great accolades, including the ones that she just recently received. It's also great to see Star Wars actors not sort of pigeonholed into just these certain roles or just being relegated to just Star Wars. We've seen that a lot with some of these other actors like Hayden Christensen, who after their time was over with Star Wars couldn't really find too much popular work. But it's nice to actually have, it's nice to also see Daisy Ridley, having Star Wars, but then also being able to do indie stuff, these smaller films that she enjoys doing as well. So it's nice to, anytime that a Star Wars actor or actress can get other work besides what was Star Wars and outside of it, that's always a good thing. Yeah.
Well, and it's important to note that there weren't a lot of calls for her after the Rise of Skywalker. It was she talked about how it was really difficult finding work again to pour herself into other projects, and so she even came up with some of her own projects like Magpie, and she's now recently in the last year and a half, 2 years, seeing just tons of work coming in and being able to take a part. And really, a lot of these films are very different from each other and do a lot of unique roles, and some of them very physical, intense roles. So the diversity that she's showing and the range she's showing in her abilities as an actor, as an actress, is wonderful. So next thing, real quick, Young Jedi Adventures season 2 is now airing on Disney Plus. More content for Luke and I to pour through in the timeline show. Thank you, Disney, for that. Really appreciate you making us have to camp out even more. I'm just kidding, because who wouldn't want to camp out with Nubs for a little bit more? Luke, you're the fellow timeline show buddy here. Have you watched season 2 yet to prepare for future shows, or are we going to hold off until we get to that point in the show so that way you're going in fresh?
I have not checked out season 2 yet, but I'm really excited to. Yeah, it's kind of cool that this show that originally only had 13 episodes, one-time drop, all of them at once, has now actually added on to its first season multiple times, and now we've even renewed it for a second season. So, like you said, we're covering this kind of in depth, kind of overview, kind of on the timeline show. It's a fun show. I think it's really good for kids to watch, and I'm really happy it got a season 2. I don't know if we're gonna get a ton more from that, but I'm really happy it got a renewal for season 2. So I'm pretty excited to check that out, because I'm a really big High Republic fan, so it's just right in the pocket. It's right around those books that I love, and it's just fitting right in there. So love it.
So Jane, I'm gonna throw this one to you. This is your last. This is our last little piece of news. Frank Oz, Harrison Ford, and John Williams were brought in as Disney legends at D23. Did you get a chance to look at some of that or read any of what they were saying? And if not, it doesn't really matter, but just take a moment and reflect on, what those three people mean for Star Wars.
You know what's funny? I haven't actually seen anything that they really said, or I unfortunately didn't get around to that stuff. But there was a funny meme picture. I think probably everyone has seen this, where it's Harrison Ford shaking hands with Mickey Mouse. It was funny because me, as a fighting game fan, I have my Street Fighter Evil Moment 37 picture, and I have a Chun-Li figure right over here. It was funny because they edited the Harrison Ford and Mickey Mouse handshake photo to look like the Ryu from Street Fighter and Cyclops from X-Men shaking hands, the X-Men versus Street Fighter video game. So for those non-fighting game fans, non-video game fans, you have the Marvel versus Capcom series, but then there's a little game prior to that called X-Men versus Street Fighter, where Ryu and Cyclops are shaking hands. And I was like, X-Men versus Street Fighter. So they edited the Harrison Ford and Mickey Mouse photos to be like Disney versus Harrison Ford. So it was it was of all the stuff that I got to check out from that was it.
Okay, that's good. That's funny.
To answer your question though about what does it mean to have these guys be inaugurated to the Disney legend status? No, that's cool. I mean, it's not because they have such big prominence even outside of Star Wars. Indiana Jones. We just got past the Olympics, and John Williams' classic Olympics fanfare. That was him. So it's just great to see.
John Williams. I hope that he's able to write a couple pieces of music for Rey's next movie. If he gets that opportunity, that would be really great to see him be able to do that again and be back in Star Wars in some capacity. I would love that. Harrison Ford, Frank Oz, John Williams, definitely legends. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started now, because we have 5 takeaways. I have 5 takes for you all, and I feel like they're pretty spicy takes. I feel like I have pretty spicy ones. So we're gonna play a game. how dangerous is this take, okay? So the spice level is one of 3 options. If you think that this take is, oh my goodness, that's spicy, like that is dangerous, like oh my goodness, I don't think that this is going to happen, but if it were, wow. Okay? You would rank that as an AT-AT, the maximum force that we can apply on land here with the AT-AT, okay? If you're middle of the road, we're all right, it's the AT-ST. Okay, it's the ATS. It's still formidable, but not even close to matching the superpowers of the AT-AT. And if you feel like this isn't spicy, this is going to happen. Like I'm all in on this take. Like this is my take. I'm standing by it. We got the ATRT, where you're just running around. This is fitting because of Mando and Grogu. You're running around, but like you can literally just, the wind blows a little bit, you fall off, and you're done because it's a little bit flimsy. Okay, so we have AT-AT for steaming hot. We have the AT-ST for formidable right in the middle. And then if you're all in on it, I want the ATRT. And because we're starting, I'm going to talk with Mando Grogu first, okay? Because I think that's the one we're all most excited to maybe talk about to start. Okay. When Solo: A Star Wars Story came out, it made $393 million at the box office. I don't know if that's adjusted for inflation. I don't think it is. But we're going to go with the box office number that it made of $393 million. Now, that budget was much larger than what the Mando and Grogu budget is projected to be right now, which a ballpark guess would probably be around $150 million, while Solo's budget was significantly higher. Now, my take, I'm not saying I necessarily believe all these takes. I'm just saying, like, this is a take. Okay? The hype for Mando and Grogu is going to be so high that it's going to exceed reasonable expectations for this film. That Disney struck gold with Grogu in 2019. That Mando and Grogu, it just struck gold and became a worldwide sensation. And it will do so again by nearly doubling the output from Solo and grossing over $725 million at the global box office. This would be an insane win for Lucasfilm to have a show from streaming go on to make 700 plus million. Think about like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That's a movie, that's the range of movie in terms of box office success that we're talking about. Like that's on board with some of the biggest Marvel movies that are not like Avengers in that 700 to $800 million range. So my question for you, are we in the ATRT for that? That is going to happen. The ATST, like I could see it, slow your brakes, or if it's AT-AT, like we got to chill this thing out. We're bringing in the heavy infantry. Luke, you gave me the strongest look. $725 million. 700 million. We'll just say 700. Will Mando and Grogu reach $700 million at the global box office? Way too early Mando Grogu prediction.
I am climbing up, barely taking a little stool step onto my ATRT because I think this is absolutely gonna happen. It's Star Wars. It's back in theaters for the first time in 8 years, and it's gonna be Mando and Grogu. I mean, these characters are very beloved. It's Star Wars returning to theaters. I think it's going to do well at the box office. If it's going to be a fantastic movie or not remains to be seen, but I think it's going to pull in a lot of people. I think it's going to pull in a lot of kids that grew up with their introduction to Star Wars as a whole was Mando and Grogu. So I think it's going to do well. I think it's going to pull in at least that much money.
All right. So Jay, Mando and Grogu, this is a global sensation from streaming, but it's still a streaming show. It's not necessarily something everyone has seen. A lot of people haven't seen Mando and Grogu. They would be relying on people to come in to watch this that have never seen The Mandalorian at all and Grogu. Where are we at?
I'm going to say AT-AT. No, I mean, like, not to, like, shoot anyone down or anything. Like, if you're excited for this, I'm excited, absolutely. But, like, at the moment, because, it is a streaming show, Not everyone has seen it, and currently, I think feelings towards the Mandalorian TV show, a little bit, middle ground. People are like, especially after season, last season. Were we on season 3? Season 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Especially after season 3, I think people are maybe a little bit more cautious and optimistic, and maybe don't want to go and see this right away. And yeah, I mean, it is. We are like a few seasons into it, and now it's jumping over to theaters. So it is a transition. We'll have to wait and see whether the transition will be successful or not.
Fair enough. So I kind of agree more with Jay than Luke.
Oh, okay.
Just because I'm like kind of in the middle here. I'm not going to give any of my things, but I will just say that I'll try to play both sides as this is my take. So from Jay's point of view, I can agree with that because I personally think that if this movie were to make $500 million or $450 million, that Lucasfilm would look at that as a massive success because it's a streaming show that's coming to theaters and the soft launch. It's not like a flagship level of cinematic thing. Like the Rey movie, if that movie were not to make like $1 billion at the box office or close to it, that's a disaster because it means that something's gone wrong with the Star Wars global brand. But this is a TV show. On the other hand, Mando and Grogu is the most popular thing probably in Star Wars for the last several years, just worldwide. And that is universally was loved and has been loved. And while season 3 wasn't necessarily beloved by all like the way they were probably hoping due to a number of reasons, I would have to think that once we get like 3 years removed from those characters and you start seeing little teasers for that, then I'm starting to think, okay, that itch is going to be there. People are going to be really excited to see that. And like Oscar is saying here, that most have never watched the show, but they all have the merchandise. Like I teach middle school, and it sounds like Oscar's a teacher as well. And tons of every single kid knows who Grogu is, or knows Baby Yoda, or knows the Mandalorian, and can talk about it. And so I feel like that's a movie that could draw in those people just because they want to see the cute kid or they want to see Mando. So it's going to be a fun debate as we get closer. A lot of it's going to depend on production schedules and the word of mouth about this movie. Like, is it getting good? Talk early on, or is the hype train going, or are we going to end up like Solo when all of this, stuff happens? We have to take into account this is sandwiched right now, right after an Avengers movie. And that could, just like Solo, it's right after Avengers. So, however,
I will say,
we'll see.
For the concern that like, well, what if people haven't seen it? I think the story is left off in a point where like you don't really have to have seen any of the show for this movie to make sense. Also, you do have, I mean, the last airing was in 2023, early 2023. So there's been like 4 years between season 3 and the movie. There's enough time that like if you never watched it and you're like, oh, I just heard that there's a Mando and Grogu movie coming out. Well, it's 24 episodes. I think I could fit that in a month or two.
That's a really good point, Luke. Because even in the teaser trailer, I think they pretty much sum up Mando and Grogu. What you need to know is I've taken him on as my own, and now I'm gonna train him like as my own, like my own kid. Okay.
But it is fair. I understand people would be like, it's 24 episodes that I need to watch. I'm kind of not down for that. I get it. So it's a concern.
Are we ready? Are we ready for the next one?
Bring it.
Okay. So we know Mando and Grogu is coming out, in May of 2026. It's been highly anticipated that Daisy Ridley's Rey movie would be the following film that's slotted for 2026. However, the take after D23 is that there will be a second Star Wars movie released to theaters before the Daisy Ridley Rey movie comes out. This thing, perhaps it's a mix of strike delays, Daisy's health, even like wanting to make sure she feels good and she feels ready to take on this role. Stephen Knight isn't able to be there. They don't have a script supposedly finished yet, and he's doing the Peaky Blinders movie. There's been a lot of shuffling. Could they pivot another direction and try to shuffle out a Taika Waititi one-shot film or a Sean Levy one-shot film here and sandwich something in? Or could they just get rid of that 2026 slate and go straight to May 27 and Dave Filoni's movie take over as the second movie after Mando and Grogu in the 50-year anniversary of Star Wars? That's the take, that there will be 2 Star Wars films that come out before we see Rey Skywalker again on the big screen. Jay, you can have the floor for this one first.
This one I'm going to mark as an ATRT. I think there's a good chance that this might actually happen. Like we haven't had so many good updates on the Rey movie, unfortunately, like whether it be with the scripts. And of course, Daisy really did come out with some, like she spoke very candidly about her health issues. And we wish her all the best.
Changes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that are it's. I'm still looking forward to it, but I think that if there is going to be some other director or like some other Star Wars movie that's going to jump in, I think it's going to be Sean Levy's movie. He's hot. This dude is hot right off the heels of Wolverine and Deadpool, and Wolverine and Deadpool was made surprisingly, like amid all those strikes. And he still made it out on amid all of those.
We lost Jay for a second.
Am I good now?
Still made it out on time.
Okay. Oh, look at those fireworks! What in the world?
Jay always gets something always happens with Jay.
Yeah. StreamYard just like looks at my my video. For those of you on like who are watching like the video, like fireworks are popping up whenever I do like thumbs up. But no, I think Sean Levy, he's hot off the heels of Deadpool and Wolverine, and I think he has the ability to, if they need someone to come in and fill a gap, he's the one to do it.
Okay, so. I love that take. Luke, where are we at?
I'm gonna sit in the middle of the road, and I'm hopping up into my ATST. And that's because, Jay, you make a really good point that like there's other things that can kind of come into here. There's Sean Levy who's could crush this, really just come in and swoop this one in. But I will say, on the other side of the coin, on the other side of my ATST, my other driver, I think that there's still some time in 2024 that we can kind of like gather ourselves so that by the time 2025 hits, maybe we have worked out all these kinks miraculously in 2024. 2025, we can get on the road with a script that's finished. We can get it there. And it's not got to be out in theaters by the end, till the end of 2026. And so I think there's 2 years there, really all of 2025 and a lot of 2026 to get this produced and get Rey's movie out there in December of 2026. I think it's getting into crunch time, but I think there's enough time that if you really get your ducks in a row soon, Daisy can get reading, can get acting, we can get actors finalized, we can get things really like finalized. It's like time to like get it going, and I think if they work fast, they could actually get this out.
Okay. The Rey movie is it's the project I'm most excited about. So it's the one I really want to see succeed and have the best word of mouth, the best news possible. So whatever they need to do to figure that out, I hope they do it. I hope that Daisy is in the best possible place whenever they start filming this movie to just knock it out of the ballpark and give us the best Star Wars story we've ever seen. That's how much I'm looking forward to this one. Are we ready for take number 3? Are we ready to move on to take number 3?
Yes.
Number 3, my lord. All right. Here we go. We will never see Donald Glover as Lando ever again. That's take number 3. There's been no word about this movie for our show that was supposed to be a movie pretty much for years. It's all we know is a little speculation and a few, quotes here and there of, oh, we're working on this. Oh, it's a movie now. And we've heard stuff from others about other movies and other projects, but we don't have anything for this. And D23 came and went without us, and there was not a single whiff of Lando news to be found, going with the, empty pile of Lando news we already had. So I am deciding right here and now that we will never see Donald Glover as Lando ever again. Luke.
Gosh dang it. I'm going with AT-AT. You're wrong.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I'll chill out here. Okay, I'll go.
No, bring the heat. I want to see Donald Glover as Lando again. I
do
want
too.
to see
So much so.
I want to see it happen.
I made a whole Twitter account called Lando Series Trailer today, and I tweet from it regularly. And
Luke just outed himself.
I really wish we were having more positive news. We were having any news about this, because I really, really like Donald Glover as Lando in Solo: A Star Wars Story. I'm going to say right here that you're wrong. I believe him that he and Stephen Glover are really working on this. It's on their back burner, clearly. Yes, we know this, but they're getting to it. Okay, they're finishing up projects here and there. And he wore a Star Wars shirt to one of his picture days in high school. Okay, this guy loves Star Wars. He's going to make this happen. I believe.
So that is the analysis I'm looking for right there, because Luke says this guy for his yearbook photo for high school wore his Star Wars shirt. Therefore, it is confirmed that the Lando movie is happening. So you heard it here first. That's the hard-hitting stuff that we're looking for. Jay, where are you at here?
I'm going ATRT. I think you're right on the money here, dude. Look, I mean, we've been hearing that they're gonna make a Lando movie, whatever, TV series for a long time, and then like Donald Glover has said that he wants to return to the role. Of course, like and I think I'd love to see him return to the role too. But I think I'm gonna throw all of that, all those comments into the pile of all these other projects where they say like, oh, it's in the works, don't worry.
Right.
The other projects that are in that pile, Metal Gear Solid movie. What's funny is, like, I realized you two probably have never played Metal Gear Solid.
I gave you one of those like courtesy laughs. They're like, huh, yeah, that's right. And I had no idea what you were talking about. I'll be honest. I'm just like, I'm gonna let. Yes, you're right, Jay. Like, go for it. Like, you just keep cooking.
No, okay, so of all of my gamer friends out there, for all of you non-gamers, check out my YouTube channel called Good Games Dude, where I just did a video on Metal Gear Solid and why it's a gaming essential. But Metal Gear Solid is yes, thank you for putting out my that out there for the YouTube people. But no, Metal Gear Solid is one of those, like, it's a class. It's a movie that was supposed to come out with Oscar Isaac as Solid Snake. And it had the director attached from King Kong, Kong Skull Island. That was the one.
I don't remember who directed that, but
yeah, I don't remember his name, unfortunately, either. But they keep on saying like, this one's gonna come out. It's like, we're working on it. Last time they said that was like 2017, 2018. It's 6 years, 6 years ago. Or the same thing with like Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock Holmes movies. Keep saying that they're working on it.
Right.
Sure.
Never happens.
Yeah, exactly.
I do like the comment though. Glover has historically taken a lot of time with his projects, but this one is one of those where timeliness seems important given the movie slate that is up. Because if this movie was if it's even close to becoming a thing, it seems like the perfect time to talk about it. To drop something like this after the Mando and Grogu movie, if we're trying to push Rey's movie back a little bit, if we need to push Daisy's movie back for a little while. So, possibly so. Luke, any other Lando thoughts here?
I think
the Lando series trailer,
who is maybe me. I just think this character is really, really cool. I've loved Lando. My appreciation for the character grows every time I see him in a new form of media, like it's a book, show, comic. I love this character more and more the more I consume him. So I really want to
Shadows of the Sith, Luke.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay,
so
you did read that. Okay,
that was great, and he's really, really a full character there. He's not just comic
Mhm.
relief. So, I mean, I would love to see more of that side of the character, maybe. Doesn't have to be, but it'd be cool. I think Donald
Mhm.
Glover could do it.
I mean, I
All
will
right.
also add too, though, that like Donald Glover he's currently hot as well, right? I mean, he just he's got all the buzz with Mr. and Mrs. Smith
He's
going
awesome.
on.
He
Yeah.
released a new album, Out of Vista, which is really good. I
Mhm.
love that
Ooh,
album.
did he really?
The
Yes.
dude never misses. The dude never misses.
Yeah, I mean, so like, I mean, if they want to go for it, like, go for it. But
Mhm.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yes, that's right. Are we ready for take number 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Take number 4. When the Nielsen, we're gonna go by Nielsen streaming numbers, even though they're not necessarily the only reliable thing out there, but we've been using those like a lot of people have for metrics across different shows. When the streaming numbers come out, it will be definitively clear that more people have watched and will watch Skeleton Crew than The Acolyte. Now, why could this be a spicy take? Is because technically The Acolyte was supposed to be the show that appealed to all Star Wars fans. It could bring in some older Star Wars fans with the Jedi, new Star Wars fans for a fresh story, while still being family friendly enough for everyone to gather around and watch. While Skeleton Crew is marketed as, more of the family oriented, sit around the holidays and watch kind of show for the feel good vibes, not necessarily this, for everyone, for whatever that means, for everyone Star Wars. However, given that it's around the holidays, the family season, there's going to be people sitting around to watch it. There are world-class directors attached to each and every one of these episodes. It's the showrunner and, directs a little bit is John Watts. I'm telling you right now that the bar might not be that high, really, though, considering how few people may have watched The Acolyte. But with that being said, more people will watch Skeleton Crew than The Acolyte. I believe, whose turn is it to go first? Is Jay's turn to go first, or is it Luke's?
I believe it's me, actually, yeah. Or is it?
Jay?
Okay.
Take it away.
No, I think you're right on the money again. I'm going ATRT. No, you're right, though. Like, this is a TV show that I think is being marketed very well. I hate to say it, but the Acolyte's marketing wasn't. It was okay. Like, I think it was good, but it could have been better.
I think they told people a different version of the show. What they told the people a different version of the show than what actually happened. Like they told people what to expect.
Actually,
they told the people to expect like something that didn't really come to fruition.
Yeah.
It was all over the place.
I agree. I think that with the Acolyte, there was just in general, the marketing was a little weird. It was like you had the trailers coming out like way too late, way closer to release than we would have liked. And yeah, like you said, like it was being marketed as like a prequel, like a show for prequel fans, for older fans as well, something that everyone can get behind. Mm-hmm. I don't, and what we got wasn't like that. But with Skeleton Crew, from just this first trailer, I can tell like, oh no, I can see what they're going for, and right. I think that this can hit like a bigger market that is like it feels like it feels even just like a film like that would be made in 1970s, alongside the original Star Wars.
Yes, I can see that.
So, and perfect release time as well, like you said, and around the holidays where you have family gatherings. So,
Luke, where are we at? ATRT, ATST, or are you bringing out the big guns again with the ATAT?
I am piloting my all-terrain reconnaissance transport. That's right, my ATRT, folks. That's right. This show, I think, has got a lot of things going for it that the Acolyte just didn't have. This already feels like it is more closely to the core of what Star Wars was back in 77 and 80. It feels like it's already got that feel to it. Like, what this is. The Acolyte was a very ambitious project where it didn't immediately feel like the original trilogy, which I kind of enjoyed. I like the Acolyte, but when we look at the numbers, which we've already done on this show before, like it didn't really have the views in those first 3 episodes that were at least charted. So as far as this take goes, I do think with the show being around the holidays, the show is about kids. I think hopefully the grifters are going to be a little hands off. It's kids. Don't be attacking this show. Like, I think it's going to go over better than, I think it's going to be a little bit better received than the Acolyte. So I think it's going to have more views. I think the story is going to be fun, lighthearted. It's going to be lighthearted, and I don't think the Acolyte was. It was a heavier show, so I think it's just going to be a little better received. I think it's going to be watched more.
Seems like ATRT is the common theme here in the chat with you guys. However, let me give you the ATAT version of this argument.
Let's hear it.
The again, do not clip what I'm saying as Tyler believes this. I'm just saying this is the version of the ATT.
Tyler hates
the
kids.
Acolyte was a 100% failure. It bombed. It generated the most hate Star Wars has seen online since 2018 or whatever, when The Last Jedi came out. 2017, when The Last Jedi came out. And Star Wars has not still recovered from that discourse, and surely will not recover from the discourse of the Acolyte by December. No one that didn't like the Acolyte is suddenly going to be feeling good enough to go back to Star Wars. They're going to need a break, especially to tune into a kids show that's not even marketed towards them. It's towards families around the holidays with a bunch of kids on their speeder bikes that look straight out of ET. You're trying to tell someone who just got hosed by an all Jedi show that now they have to, go back to the Mandoverse timeline and not see Mando. Good luck trying to sell me on that. That's my AT-AT version.
Good luck.
Just makes
Good
sense.
try.
Like, I don't know. I'm with you guys. I think that it might pick up some more traction than we're thinking, but I also think Skeleton Crew is just going to kind of come and go, and Andor, and people will just be ready for Andor, and then Andor is going to come and go. We'll see. I don't know. I'm a little bit skeptical on everything going on the Star Wars streaming side right now in terms of viewership and numbers, but we're optimistic. Are we ready for the final take? This one's fun. This one's fun. Okay. I think that we've had some negative ones, I think, so far. We started off with the positive, Mando's gonna crush it. Then we've had some, oh boy. Then take 4 was however you want to interpret that. And then take 5, Andor season 2 will match or exceed season 1's Emmy count, which was 8 Emmys that it was nominated for. Okay. And it will win at least 1. I don't believe Andor season 1 won an Emmy, but season 1 was critically acclaimed. The word of mouth around Andor this entire time has been nothing but positive universally. So, without a doubt, that will help them during awards season. It will help them as they campaign for their awards. People will be familiar with this show, and they will know that this show's not coming back. Season 2 is it. This is the only time that they're going to be able to win something for this show. It will at least get another 8 Emmy nominations, but they will take home the trophy for at least one of them for season 2. I believe the final one goes to you, Luke. Where are we at with this one?
AT-AT, it's winning 3. You're so wrong, because it's going to do so well that it's actually going to take home 3. I just wanted to end with a pop. Okay. I love this show. I have loved. I didn't really even want it in the first place, but when I started really watching it and taking in Andor, I was like, man, this is good. So yeah, season 2 is going to absolutely exceed what season 1 did. It's going to be an even better season of television. It is going to exceed the Emmy nominations, and it's going to take home more than 1. I think it's going to just completely outperform season 1 is my take. And that's my hope. That's my take. That's what I'm really, really rooting for. And I expect to see this come to fruition.
Jay.
Boy. I'm gonna go AT-AT, but not for the same reason that Luke mentioned. I'm saying AT-AT because I don't think this will actually come to fruition, and I don't think that season 2 will unfortunately get the same buzz or award reception. Look, I mean, I've said from the very start that like Andor was always like a series I've been looking forward to before, like when it was first announced. Even like before like the trailers, because like Andor was my favorite character in Rogue One. He was great. He was like that classic war movie character that had to make the tough decisions in order to complete the mission. I love those characters. Very much so Guns of Navarone, Where Eagles Dare with Clint Eastwood, those kind of movies. But that being said, this isn't to like discredit and knock Andor right away because we haven't even seen it.
Right.
And from what we can tell, like it's the same creative individuals that are still working on this series.
Yes.
Tony Gilroy, we got new returning characters like Ben Mendelsohn as Director Krennic. We got K2SO. It looks really great. I'm not knocking it, but at the same time, like for me personally, I've always been like, when it comes to like these big TV shows, it's very hard for me at least to like the second or third follow-up seasons after watching like the original. Like I think that having like follow-up seasons that are better than season 1 or like the very first season, that's very rare. Most TV shows, and I think a lot of people I think a lot of people actually kind of do think this way, is that TV series tend to go down in quality over time. So I think, not to knock Andor season 2 before we've even seen it, but I think that it's very rare to see a TV series actually go up in quality. Are there exceptions? Absolutely. Mandalorian season 2, I do think it's better than season 1. Clone Wars did go up in quality, the animated series. But just in general, people point to X-Files, Game of Thrones, and all those other like live action shows as being like examples of series that did slump in quality as time went on.
Granted, those shows, the quality drops several seasons into those projects for a lot of those shows. Versus in Andor, I'd argue that the first season set up everything that they're trying to do for this big event season, which is we're doing a year every few episodes and having these big jumps in time. And because of that, the scale of this show is going to feel much bigger than season 1, which had a pretty massive scale when you think about everything that was going on and the different arcs that we had. And this is going to feel probably twice as big as that because the stakes are going to be bigger for every single person because everyone is invested now. Cassian's completely invested. Bix is now into the game. Luthen knows there's, no turning back at this point after what they've done. And Krennic is getting involved. We're going to see K2. The stakes have been raised. The galactic oppression of the Empire is going to be seen in a way that we haven't seen it before in Star Wars, because outside of, because we've seen the Death Star, wipe out billions of people, but that happens, but we don't, see the Empire, like the smaller things the Empire is doing to hurt people. We see that in season 1, like take place with the prison. We see what they do to the people of Aldhani, and they're setting the stage for what the rebellion is really going to do in response to that. And we've never seen those things happen in like a live action like setting, like on boots on the ground, gritty. And I think people are going to respond to that. And it will expand Star Wars in a way that I think we're not necessarily even ready for or expecting, because I have full confidence in Tony Gilroy's vision because he's not failed to deliver on that so far. And because it's the last season, I know they're not holding anything back. It's just, they said that they've known this was going to be a 2-season thing for a while. They're not going to pull any punches. They're seemingly, from everything you hear from the people involved with this project, is they are treating it like it's their last season. Like this is the last chance we get to make an impression on Star Wars. We're not going to waste any opportunity. And so 8 Emmys seems reasonable to get nominated for a show that had such good word of mouth coming out of season 1. And you know how like in awards, like when Jamie Lee Curtis won her Oscar 2 years ago for her work in Everything Everywhere All at Once, I don't think anyone ever thought no one really thought she was going to win that. And I think if you would ask, her if she thought she was going to win, she probably would have said like, no way, given who else was nominated and the performances that they had. It felt like in that moment, and not to say Jamie Lee Curtis didn't deserve that Oscar, because I'm going to get into that in a minute. It felt like almost like her lifetime achievement Oscar for everything that she's done for film, in addition to what she did for that movie. And obviously, Andor doesn't have near the longevity or historical relevance to its industry like Jamie Lee Curtis does. But I think sometimes these award shows, they do get excited to honor something that they know they're not ever going to get the chance to again, or this might be the last chance that we have to do that. So I could see them, if it's Andor and maybe the next season of this show that we know has already got renewed for a season 5 and 6 or something, like they might be like, if it's neck and neck, maybe we give it to Andor this time, because this show's probably going to be back here next year and we're going to have another chance here. That's why I'm like, one win doesn't seem impossible, especially if you're getting that 8 nominations. So
sure.
I hope that this happens. Like, I would also agree with Jay in the sense that it is really hard when you have that good of word of mouth from a season and everyone says that your show is that good. It's really hard to match that again and successfully elevate it moving forward. So it's going to be really fun to see, season 2 of Andor. I think what's really curious, and I'm curious what you guys think about this as we wrap up, how they're going to release that show. Because the first season was released, they dropped the first 3 episodes all at once, and that made total sense. If you watch it, it feels like a mini, like this is like a all connected arc that needs to be released at once. And then they did like the, 1 episode at a time. And for me, I loved it. It felt like this slow burn that this addiction I had to fulfill every week to see where we were going. But with the gaps in time, like I wonder if they're still going to stick to these weekly releases, or might they release these arcs at a time at the start, even to get us into the story again. I'm curious what you guys think on that.
I'd like it to be arc, and for it to be like the 3 episodes per year, like they've been saying it is. Knowing Disney though, it's going to be released weekly because they want to.
It's tough because think about the prison arc.
Sure.
When Kino Loy says never more than 12 at the end of the second to last prison arc episode, and that became like a rallying, cry for the week. That doesn't happen if the whole arc's released, because everyone's just chanting, one way out after that. Like no more than 12 gets lost. And I remember just the anticipation that was around the Andor fan community that week. Like, it's going down next week. And that does get lost. But like you said, it's different because there's these year gaps in between. So like you could have an arc and then be like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen in the year after this happens?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think they could, either way, I think if they release it weekly or if they release it by arc, it probably will be good. Mm-hmm. But knowing Disney, it's just like, well, they want you to pay for more monthly subscriptions, so that's why they release it weekly. But who knows?
They do what that makes sense. They've shown in the past that at times they're willing to do some arcs if it makes sense for what they're trying to do. Like Andor definitely made sense to do the 3 episode release at first. But I'm curious if they might pivot strategy at some point. Luke, take it away on Andor, and then we'll get out of here.
I think they've learned from their lesson, and they are going to drop arc by arc. It's going to be 4 drops, 1 through 3, 4 through 6, and on. And I think that's how they're going to do it. I think that's going to make the most sense. I think people are going to be like, whoa, every other Disney Plus show I watch drops weekly. You're telling me this one drops 3 at a time. That's interesting. Maybe I'll check it out. I think there's just might be a little bit of buzz about how they're going to drop the episodes, but I think it's going to make the most sense. I think it's going to be another word of mouth. Like, yeah, you don't actually have to wait the whole week to find out what happens in episode 5. You can actually just go from 4 into 5 into 6. And dude, I'm telling you, that arc was really good. Like, you should at least just check out 4 through 6. Like, you can kind of sell people on that even too. I
don't want that. I'm different on that. I love the slow burn of week by week. Like, Game of Thrones is like my favorite TV show ever, even though I can't watch it anymore because of season 8 of Game of Thrones is being the horrendous piece of dog crap that it is, that pukes all over the entire show. But there aren't a lot of major conflicts in Game of Thrones. When you look at like the entirety of the show, like major battles don't occur every episode, or even House of the Dragon's pretty good too. So like these major battles aren't occurring all the time. There's these just slow burn buildups to these epic moments in the season. Like we waited, there was 3 episodes. Like the One Way Out was like episode 10 out of 12 for that show. So you think about, we waited like a month and a half, 2 months essentially to get to that episode. And it felt so rewarding to watch that. I watched that episode like 4 times that week because the adrenaline rush from watching it and the high, it was just like having this experience of going on that journey with someone is, and like this community is so exciting to me. And I don't take those things for granted. Like I love being able to just have each episode have its moment. When it makes sense though, and they've shown so far in the show that it makes sense to drop things at a time. With this one specifically, I think, because there's just so much to chew on with each episode. But we're going to be able to debate this for a while because we're going to have to wait, another 8 months or so probably before we dig our claws into Andor season 2. Couple things out of D23. Real quick, Jay. I know Luke's looking forward to Incredibles 3 from D23, but was there a non-Star Wars project you're looking forward to most from D23 that was talked about?
What's funny was, okay, so I'm not like so looking forward to this, but like when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's I have to talk about Lilo and Stitch.
Okay.
Because like as someone who grew up on who grew up in Hawaii, that movie was on repeat like every single day.
Right.
So I've seen the original like countless amounts of times, and I'm like really sick of it. But at the same time, like I do actually enjoy it. So like I enjoy the songs, I enjoy the music. So if there was like one announcement that like kind of caught me off guard, and then I was like, all right, I'm a little bit on board now. It was just seeing like live action Stitch, and I was like, all right, this might be good. He looks good. Live action Stitch looks good.
I've always been obsessed with the way. I think that D. Bradley Baker was inspired by Stitch and his voice of Nubs from Young Jedi Adventures. For Luke talked about like Incredibles 3, and then I talked about Avatar 3.
Avatar,
I love Avatar. Just absolute spectacle.
Avatar is going to be good.
Everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight on Star Wars Newsnet Live. For those of you listening tomorrow or over the weekend on Apple or Spotify, please leave us that little 5-star review. Let us know what you think. Check us out. We have the Monday show coming up this week with Luke and I. It's Star Wars Goes Back to School. I'm a public school teacher. Luke's going to give me, a list of Star Wars kids and how would I react to seeing them in the classroom. It's going to be just a fun little, we're just going to riff on some Star Wars kids in the classroom for a little bit. It's going to be a good time. And Jay, Go ahead and tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel, and then we'll give some Star Wars Newsnet stuff and get out of here.
Yes, my YouTube channel is Good Games Dude. It is a gaming channel for newcomers to the gaming world and video game veterans, people who have been playing games all their lives, like myself. I have my most recent video was talking about 2XKO, a fighting game that's not even out yet, but that I got access into the closed alpha to play a little bit of it, check it out. So if you are like me who loves fighting games, I have my Evil Moment 37 frame picture here in my backgrounds. But no, like if you love fighting games, or even if you've never played a fighting game, 2XKO is a great game to check out for newcomers and for fighting game veterans alike. So yeah, that's my channel.
Please go ahead and tune in to the Star Wars Newsnet Timeline show. Luke, tell us a little bit about the Timeline show.
We are taking on the project of covering every single canon story that is inside of this universe, Star Wars. So we are starting at the beginning and going all the way through the end. The beginning is full of a lot of High Republic content, and so that's where we are right now. We will be getting to everything, all the movies you love and have watched in theaters. We'll be getting there and covering those and talking about how much we love those and everything that happens in the books and comics as well. So it's going to be a long journey, but it's going to be a really fun one. So please come along with us and check that out.
I love the High Republic, but I can't wait till we get to Clone Wars.
I know.
That's going to be my most fun. Clone Wars. We get to Clone Wars and Rebels. We're just going to thrive. Like the amount of joy that will go on and sadness at the same time.
Oh, man.
So yes, check us out here every Thursday night, Star Wars Newsnet Live. Join Luke and I on Saturdays because they're all for the Star Wars timeline. And of course, on Mondays, start your week off with Star Wars Newsnet. We like to deliver you another podcast on Mondays. You can check me out on Monday, Thursday, or Saturday. Follow me on Twitter at TyBread5. Check us out on all your social media platforms at Star Wars Newsnet for everything that delights you in the Star Wars world. Look for the character spotlight article from Josh on our website tomorrow. And look for Miguel's weekly recap of everything going on in Star Wars on Sunday. Until next time, everyone, for Light and Life. I almost said good night, everyone, to the Star Wars universe. Remember, we are all the Republic.